we're going to talk a little bit about some supplies that you'll need in your kidding kit or box, however you put it together. When kidding season starts, you're going to want to have these things ahead of time. This is called a lamb puller. You can get this in a NASCO catalog, or probably not in a store, but you're going to have to get this in a catalog. You have to develop a talent to use this, but when your doe is having trouble kidding and you put your hand in there to investigate what's happening and you decide the head is turned back, sometimes you can use this to reach in there and find the head, get this around its neck. You secure the head with this, put its little chin right here, get this around its head, and that way you can keep everything straight and in line to bring that on out. If you don't have its head lined up, that baby's not coming out. So typically you have to have at least one leg and a head to get a kid delivered. So we keep this on our cart right beside the where the does are kidding. We kid everything in the barn or right close to the barn, so in case they need help, so that you'll have a lamb puller. This is another thing that we use quite frequently. I'm sorry this one's dirty, but in the catalog, this is called a pig resuscitator, okay? It's not gonna be in the lamb and goat section of your catalog. It's a pig resuscitator, but if you get that baby out and it's not breathing, you wipe the slime off its face, get that stuff off its nose, and then you can force air in by compressing the bulb, but more importantly, you can suck the snot out, everything, all the gunk out of its nose and mouth that it may have aspirated while you're trying to get it delivered. It may have sucked a bunch of stuff into its lungs, so the pig resuscitator will help you get that baby breathing, while you can also do some chest compressions, you know, a little bit of goat CPR on those little babies when they're first born as well. Don't pull it out and think, oh, it's not breathing. Work on it for a while first, because if it still has a heartbeat, you might be able to get it breathing again with your pig resuscitator. Keep it right beside you while you're pulling those kids, because you don't have time to go run and get it. This is something you need right there handy while you're pulling those kids. We use a buku of just old towels. Lots of times if you can get that gunk off its face so it's not breathing that in, just wipe its nose real quickly, get that off its face. Lots of times you'll find kids dead in the pasture or dead in the pen because they had that membrane over their face. Their mom licked their body, but mama didn't lick its face, and it suffocated. So we try to be around when they're born and wipe its face. You'll use lots of little scrap pieces of towels, so it's good to have a bunch of rags around when they're being born. You don't have to clean the whole baby off, that's mom's job. Just wipe its face off so keep a lot of rags. The other thing you're gonna wanna do is you need to spray its navel. Some people use a dip cup. Those are available in catalogs. It's kind of messy, but as soon as it's born, we spray its navel. This is 7% iodine, not 1%. Do not buy 1%. This will stain your clothes, stain your hands, but it's definitely gonna keep any bacteria from getting back into that navel cord. So you want to get the 7% iodine for spraying their navels right after they're born. Keeps them from getting navel ill and causing all kinds of problems later on. So spray that navel cord right away. Even if you find it a couple hours later, if that navel cord's wet, spray it with some iodine right away. So we also keep some lube and a big gun for putting lube where you need it. If you find that doe is having problems, things are not progressing like they should, and you need a little bit more lubricant to help with that delivery process, they sell this at almost all farm supply stores. It's used mostly for people to pregnancy check cattle. This is not a sterile product by any means, but lots of times we need a little bit more lube to investigate and see what's going on. And if you need more lube inside, this is a sheep drench gun, also available at a farm supply store or any catalog. You just take some of that lube, put it in there where you need more lubrication to get your hand in there to see what's going on with the presentation of the kids. And then the babies, when it's cold out and they're being born, maybe you're in a colder climate and your kidding season happens to be in December, January, whatever. This is a simple pattern you can put on a kid that might be shivering. If those babies are not shivering, they don't need a blanket. But if they're shivering, they might need a little extra cover. So you might sew up something like this or get somebody that you know that can sew. This is elastic for the back legs, keeps that blanket in place. There's just some fleece lining and denim on the top. We have all different sizes of these little blankets. Our kidding season is in March and April, so we don't always need these, but it's good to have a couple different sizes on hand, especially if you're kidding in December, January, where it might be cold. Like I said, they can shake off a lot of weight if they start shivering. So if you notice the babies are cold and they're shivering, you can put a little blanket on them just to keep in some of that body heat so they're not shivering all the time. And then when they're warm enough, they can keep their body temperature up on their own. Then you just take the blanket off and they don't need it anymore. So it's good to have a few different sizes of this. Real simple. It's a real simple pattern. I sewed these on my own, but it's a real simple pattern to have a few little baby blankets around to keep them from shaking off all their weight till they can do it on their own. Also on a baby that's maybe been really stressed or it's a little weak when it's born, you must make sure that they get some colostrum that first 24 hours. So if they can't stand on their own or they're too weak, it's important that you milk that doe, milk its mom. If the mom dies, you can still milk that doe or get some colostrum from another doe that maybe just recently kid and tube that baby to make sure it gets colostrum from its mom. These are available at most farm stores. Mid-State Wool Growers sells these. I think that's where I got this one, but it has a different tip on the syringe. Make sure you get the different tip. This is fairly straightforward as far as putting it down the baby's throat. Make sure you get it not in the lungs, but down its throat. And this is a 60 cc's, at least one 60 cc syringe full for a newborn. Preferably two, but at least one of colostrum in that first 12 to 24 hours. Don't wait, because after 24 hours, their gut doesn't absorb the antibodies that it needs. So you need to make sure that when in doubt, just do it. Err on the side of caution. If you have trouble milking by hand, we have used several of these utterly easy milkers. There are different varieties out there. You can see on YouTube where you can make one of your own, but we prefer this option. You put a little water on that teat, clean it off a little bit. It suctions on there real easily and milk out enough colostrum so you can tube that baby. Sometimes does make way more milk than those kids can nurse, and that becomes painful for the doe. So if you'll milk a little bit of that out where she's not strutted and painful, then she's more likely to let those kids nurse. So we use these a lot. I've worn out 4 or 5. This is number 5 or 6 at least. So it's a very handy thing to have around when it's kidding season. These are in the NASCO catalog as well, but you can order direct from their website. But definitely get some colostrum in your kids as soon as they're born, at least in the first 12 hours. Don't let them get really weak before you start working on that. So this needs to be in your kidding box as well. I can't think of anything else, but those supplies you need to have on hand before the first babies are due.